Well, President Donald Trump signed a new executive order, but this time exempting one country, Iraq. This comes recently after his original executive order sparked a national protest. President Trump also in the hot seat for accusing former President Barack Obama of wiretapping the Trump Tower after the elections. Joining us now to discuss the new travel ban and the Trump tweet, we welcome now adjunct professor at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, J.C. Polanco, who's also a political commentator. You see him across New York City, as well as political analyst and SUNY Maritime College professor Mark Maritz, and good to have you both.
Thank you for having me.
Wonderful.
Good. As we get ready to talk about this here, obviously the new executive order taking away one of the 7 countries that have been listed in the form of Iraq. Some people saying that this still is not enough. Mark, take it from there.
Well, I mean, it's debatable. The question with the executive order is whether it's really a Muslim ban. And they've already, people have gone to court last night to go against the ban. In Hawaii, the state of Hawaii has already gone to court against this new travel ban, arguing again that it is really a Muslim ban, and that's really the issue. What's the intent of the executive order? They've cleaned it up a little bit, and they've taken out Iraq, they've taken out the priority for Christians. They've done a couple of things. They've taken out the green card holders. They took and they tweaked it in a way that looks like they're trying to fix it. But the question is, can they fix the issue of intent?
Jason.
I think it's tough when it comes to President Trump because, as you know, the president during his campaign has actually proposed a Muslim ban. So I think the country and most of the planet is looking at anything that comes out of President Trump's mouth in regards to anything Muslim and already assuming that it's going to be a connection to his promise in his campaign, although he may have changed a little bit later on during the process. Well, I got to be honest with you, when you look at this specific executive order, this is not a Muslim ban. I can see why you would think that, but it's not. These are countries where the United States does not have a good working relationship with the governments there. These are some countries that don't even have an established government, that are run by warlords and corrupt governments. And these are governments that President Obama has already itemized as not being able to give us the right information regarding visas and the actual identification of the people applying for them. So this is an attempt by President Trump to stop any sort of immigration coming from countries where we have not been able to work with the government to fully vet applicants. This makes sense. Now, unfortunately for President Trump, he said so many things during the campaign that anything that even appears to be like a promise that we found insulting will be viewed and frowned upon negatively by the public. And this is
I wanted to add, as just as a postscript to that the practicalities, and I hear what you're saying, and that's the justification for it. The district court in Hawaii is also going to be appealed to the Ninth Circuit, which is the same exact court that upheld the stay. And then if it's appealed to the Supreme Court, and Gorsuch is not the 9th judge, you have 8 judges, they'll be split 4-4, and it will be stayed again. That court didn't say specifically about the Muslim ban, but they were thinking the point about looking at the intent. And that is also very precarious because when you start, as I think as J.C. intimated, when you start looking at intent, that becomes problematic, and there is a justification for it. The problem is, if you go to that court and it goes to the Ninth Circuit, you're right back where you were before because that court, I think, is prejudiced against it.
Let me swing to another topic right here, and I'll come back to the wiretaps in a minute. But I want to talk about the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. The GOP has rolled out what they have said is their plan. You got GOP rank and filers, JC, who are saying that this plan is Obamacare light. And there's a real problem with having teeth within the plan. Is the party going to be able to swing this plan? Is the plan going to go forward?
Well, I think so, and I think last night when President Trump met with leadership in Congress to discuss the Republican plan, I think the teeth have been put into the plan when President Trump tweets that he's 100% behind it. He understands that this is going to come in phases. Look, Obamacare was well-intentioned and it's not sustainable. There are not enough young, healthy people entering the program to be able to sustain the program for the long term. So something needs to be done. Now, the question is whether or not the Senate has the votes necessary to pass the House bill. The House has enough Republicans to pass the bill. But we have right now 4 senators that have said that they have problems with it. And because those 4 senators have problems with it, I don't know if it's going to pass the Senate unless some more Obama light things. And what Obama light in when you hear Republicans say that this is simply Obama light, these are the Freedom Caucus guys, these are the really ultra conservatives that don't want the government providing any incentive to anyone applying for insurance. In this case, with the Republican plan, if you apply for it, you get a tax credit as opposed to having the government give it to you. You will be incentivized in getting a tax credit to purchase your own insurance. And some Republicans find a problem.
Well, I think the plan is dead in the water right now. It's never going to go anywhere.
Because
and
of
that's
the
the reason.
Senate.
No, but I'll say that that's because Senate, the reconciliation part of it, the House can part. The other part
Right.
can be filibustered. But the problem is, first of all, Medicaid expansion. So what you end up here is you have the far right saying, isn't good enough, I want to repeal, that's Rand Paul, and then you have the left and the Democrats saying, no, this is a disaster, you're going to knock millions of people off insurance. And the Daily News today called it, I think, a Frankenstein monster. I mean, a lot of people are talking about it. I think it's still not fully developed. It needs to be developed. And the other problem is you have all these, you mentioned the tax credits, but ultimately, at the end of the day, older people are going to have to pay 4 to 5 times more, and younger people are not going to have to pay. And the theory of the system, if you think about it, is young people are going to sign up, right, and they're going to get sick, and older people will get sick, and all the money that the younger people are putting in the premiums is going to fund the other part. But the fact of the matter is that younger people, I think one senator or someone said, well, it's a good investment. Instead of buying a smartphone, why don't you invest in insurance? Well, that's not the mindset of young people. So the whole concept of it, I don't think works, and I don't think the tax credits really work, and I think the system right now is unformed and needs to be fixed, because right now you have a complete clash of all these positions. It isn't going to happen.
Let me bring JC back
Sure,
to you.
sure.
I think former Speaker John Boehner is right about something. And it goes to what the professor was mentioning. We don't have the votes to completely overhaul, repeal, and replace. But we may have the votes to fix the problems that Obamacare has. So at the end of the day, because of the Senate, not the House, I don't think that this Republican plan is going to go through. I do think you're going to see how we can protect insurance companies from leaving the system because there are not enough young people participating. I don't know what that answer is. No one's actually talked about how to fill that hole. But there needs to be something done immediately because this entire Obamacare system will collapse on itself.
And I can certainly hear the word Obamacare. Why is it not being referred to as the Affordable Care Act?
Because President Obama wanted credit for 25 million people getting under insurance under his plan. Wouldn't you? If you were President Obama and his supporters and someone told you that 25 million people now have insurance, wouldn't you want to claim credit for pushing it through? It's not a negative thing. I think you could see it as a positive thing. We Republicans use it as a wedge to get some votes.
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people aren't in favor of it. You know, the country's pretty split on it. So it is Obamacare, and yes, the technical term is the Affordable Care Act.
And because the reason I say that is because there's a lot of Americans that walk around and thinking that Obamacare and Affordable Care Act are two totally different things.
Yeah, I know, it's true. And many of them are from Kentucky. I think Senator Rand Paul has a problem waiting for him if he pushes on this too much.
Good one.
Let me go here to
Perfect.
President Trump and the wiretap claim. Of course, we talk about President Obama. The notion that the president has had, President Obama had the Trump Tower in New York City wiretapped. Of course, the FBI has said no. How egregious is it? Because we've got these reports that is absolutely false. How egregious is it for the President of the United States to continue along with this monologue?
There are 3 parts. First, the tweeting in general and the excitement brought about those tweets is very problematic. Secondly, for a sitting president to accuse a previous president of felony is very, very, I mean, it's over the top. But if you actually drill down on it, I think there's some kind of blog that was today or yesterday that said that what this was involved had to do with the FISA court. And the FISA court apparently, this is a blog, saying that originally the FISA court was asked to had Trump's name in some sort of a document. They crossed it out, and they did, but it wasn't surveilling Trump.
And I want to read these here because our viewers are watching it right now. And here's Donald Trump's tweet. I bet a good lawyer could make a great case out of the fact that President Obama was tapping my phones in October just prior to the election.
Well, but I mean, just my last point about the FISA court. It is not correct, as a matter of detail, that presidents can tap phones. They have to go to the FISA court. But the discourse and the environment of making these statements is so disturbing to people, and I think that that's problematic.
Well, I think when I see this, there could be 3 things. Piggyback on your 3. Okay. Either one, President Trump now has incredible intelligence that points to the fact that President Obama did order the tapping of his phones, if you will, right?
That's one.
That's one.
Is that
Two,
theory you subscribe to?
he tweets this at 7 a.m. on a Saturday to distract the country from other issues and to focus on President Obama for a couple of days. Or 3, the man is absolutely insane and is crazy and has no idea of reality. I really don't think it's number 3. I think the man is a smart man. I don't think he's crazy. So it has to be 1 or 2. And I think we're going to get to the bottom of this because this is insane. I mean, for you to accuse a former president of a felony, as you've just heard from the professor, is incredibly egregious. So you have to have some evidence. You need to have seen something in order to go on your computer as president and tweet this. I don't know what it is. I hope to find out. And it could very well be a political tactic. Either one of those we're going to soon to find out. But this tweeting has to stop. It's not presidential.
Well, it could be incredibly fake news.
No, I want to add one point. The president, Sean Spicer said, they asked him, is it true? He said, no, not my job, above my pay grade. Hey, the Congress should do it. That's a good one. The president, with separation of powers, is not able to drill down with the whole intelligence network under his supervision. He can't figure it out. He's bumping it, punting it to Congress. So what we have is confusion. If the people in our country can't look up to institutions to understand how they function, and that's our confusion right now. We don't know how the presidency functions. We don't know how the Congress functions. So I think I speak to many people who are very worried and concerned about how our system is operating. I never had this feeling before. I don't know about you guys.
Well, that's going to be the last word. And JC, Mark Meyerowitz, our guest here, thank you so much for sharing with us political commentators. You can catch our political commentators every week here on